All right, all right, all right. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Amuna, and you don't know already. I pray everybody is doing well. And we're there. Greetings and welcome back once again. And I know you're like, Amuna, where is Marcus? Where is Marcus? Right? But this topic and those like it have been on my mind for a while. So I'm gonna go ahead and incorporate it into the conversation. All right. And you already know, if you're new to this channel, welcome. And if you're not, you already know how it go already. This is not a gossip thing. So that's why some of these topics I kind of watch, let it cool, observe it, and see what type of value I could add in having this conversation. And I came across this sometimes in my downtime. I like to see what's going on out in the greater landscape, right? So, in light of reading about some of the proponents of Rastafari, reading about those like Rita and Nesta and all that went into the forerunners of Rastafari to the world. I'm not talking about essentially the commercialization of Rastafari, right? And if we can remember in the story of Nesta, aka Bob, we hear some of the feedback from the roots man, them, from the people on the ground, that you're watering down the thing. Taking it to the people is doing one of two things. It's letting the people know that Rastafari exists, right? It's promoting it, but it's also commercializing it. And ultimately, welcome for those who've just joined us, exploiting it to a certain degree, right? Where it becomes this export. The levity becomes fashion, right? And so you have first, now, and second generation. Yes, the day is well, the day is well. All praise be to the creator, the day is well. You have first and second and third even generations of those who may look like, akin to, adjacent with what one would expect of a Rasta, right? But then when you go along, it's like, wait a minute, this person is not. And so this is what this conversation is about today. I came across some articles, I saw some videos, and in the initial, because of how the foundation is set, it's easy to assume something without actually being confirmed that it is or isn't. And in this case, a lot of the feedback from the people is like, you led us to believe. And then someone is real tricky with it. Well, did I tell you I was a Rasta? Right? And so when Koffee first comes out as a young girl, she is around reggae music, being endorsed by older Rastas, and then the foundational new school age of reggae music coming out. So then one-on-ones and people started to assume that she was Ras. And so in recent times, when she came out by saying that she is not, it's kind of a split. And I think that comes from that watering down that the original foundational men were afraid of, they were concerned about. And sometimes we don't necessarily see the manifestation in that first generation, because they may have a different mentality. This is not why I'm doing it. I'm really having this tried. This is really why I'm trying to bring it to the world, right? But the next generation, who may not have gone through those struggles, who may not identify with you in that way, they may take the refined parts of it. Because remember, you already went through and did the hard work. Where there was no road, those who came before made a road. Where there was no acceptance, those who came before made it acceptable. Where locks wasn't acceptable, and smoking wasn't acceptable, and eating ital made you look a little weird, right? Now it's like, oh, okay, I know what that is. Come on in. And I think it is in this vein, based on what I've seen, the way she came in and what's happening now, which is she's making a sharp left turn. Let's make no mistakes about it. It's not blessings fall on my right hand. It's a sharp left turn now into some territory that have the people and a burn a fire. Now the question is, are they rightfully burning the fire? This is the young lady I would have to put forward, because how we present ourselves to the public and the things that we say all go together with the message that we are conveying, right? So in recent times, and then I'm going to go backwards, Koffee presents herself more as a masculine. I know this is probably going to get some people, you know. She presents herself more, she takes on more of a masculine energy and a masculine spirit, right? Now, we just went through the whole conversation of Bob Marley presenting one way, having certain lyrics that gave a certain message, but then had a life that exhibited something that may be, you know, contrary to what the expectation. Like I didn't know all of that stuff was going on. And so that's the case with many musicians. But for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and get into this here, because people have been like, well, where is she? She and others, which again, I've been watching for some time. She and others have made some turns and some twists in the conversation, right? That cause people to pause, right? So we're going to start off with, why would you assume that she was Rasta? Could be, like I said before, how initially she kind of presented and whom she parred amongst, right? Welcome to those who have just joined us. But in actuality, according to the conversation, she's from Spanish Town, and I'm reading from Wikipedia just for the sake of conversation, and then I'm going to read some articles of which I will share. She's from Spanish Town, and she grew up with her mother in a single home. And she grew up as a Seventh-day Adventist. Now, there are certain components of the Seventh-day Adventist church that would possibly give the impression that somebody was holding an order, right? Because for somebody to say, oh, there's the person Rasta, that means you have certain expectations of them. How you eat, where you go, what you are supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. Because as we spoke a few sessions ago, Rasta is coming from the Bible. And we can't divorce it. A lot of times, and I do see, shout out to everybody who's saying, we're talking about talent. And, you know, it's easy to overlook things because someone is talented or because someone can entertain, right? And we see that even in the case of Marcus, who was able to captivate a crowd. And so people tend to overlook other things because we are entertained. And that is a double edge right there. That can also introduce other things that can be the downfall of the very same people that they're entertaining. Music has always been a medium by which entertainment in general, acting as well as music, is a medium by which people could, because they're quote unquote good at what they do, they can lead the whole masses astray, right? So let me continue here. So she, according to the narrative, she grew up in the Seventh-day Adventist church, which holds certain tenets and follows certain liberty that would give someone an impression, like they keep the Sabbath, or Shabbat, like their eating requirements, vegetarian within the Seventh-day Adventist church. So they are more of the stricter orders of Christians. And according to her testimony, her mother would bring her to church because they lived close to the church. And so basically she grew up in the church. Now, if someone embraced that experience, then they would be glad, right? But if somebody somewhere along the line resented, you know, how much they had to be in the church, the choices that were being made for them, we can see that when they begin to have the opportunity to make the choices for themselves, they may make very different choices. Now, if she grew up, which she says she did in the Bible, she would know that the girl who dresses like a man or the man who dresses like a girl is problematic. So that means that this person that we're watching is very much conscious of what she's doing. Okay. So it goes on to say that her mother is a Ministry of Health employee. I think that's also important in this conversation. So the mother would be equipped to understand to a certain degree and identify what's going on, because that is her occupation. This is what she does. It says here, Koffee's first musical inspiration stemmed from her mother's religious background. So there is a lot of people. She's not the only one. A lot of R&B early people got their inspiration, their foundation from the church. And then they decided, maybe not. I don't want to just be here and do it. I want to take what I learned from here, which is usually supposed to be making music and merriment, right, to the glory of the Creator. And then a lot of people say, they want to bring it into the world. All right. It says here she sang in her church choir, taught herself guitar at 12 on an instrument borrowed from a friend, and then she began writing lyrics, right? So when she's coming up, because she's not that old, she's 24, she's born in 2000. So that's also something to remember, that she's not that old, okay? And she also attended Ardeen High School. Now, Ardeen High School is interesting as well, because it looks like her mother is like striving to get her an education that she needs. And Ardeen High School, at the core of Ardeen High School, is the Church of God. Okay, so it is a high school. The denomination is Church of God. So you went from one place that had religious framework, and then you went to a high school that also had religious framework. So you're getting it on all sides. Okay, now how you're getting it on all sides, I don't know. How you're receiving it, whether you feel you embrace it or whether you resent it, is going to determine. I could kind of almost guess how she, based on how she's presenting now to the public, that there's a possibility that some of what she was receiving, although people may have meant it for good, she seems to be going in a different direction based on the way she presents. So I wanted to bring those two things. I know they're very basic, but I think it's important to the conversation as we're talking about, where did I put this? Her not being Rasta. So let's go now to the article. Let's go to the article. Let me close some of this stuff. Where is it? All right, let me share my screen. So in this article here that I saw some people commenting on, but sometimes they don't give us the whole thing. Let me remove this. So you're like, what are they talking about? And you know me, I like to go to the source. So here we are. The article states, Koffee reiterates, or Koffee, that she's not a Rasta. And then, quote, now I eat all the meats, end quote. So this was back in December of last year, a couple of months ago. And it caused quite a stir on social media, especially in the community that, looks into, what's going on with reggae music. All right. So it goes on. And again, like I said, the way that she's presenting, this is intentional. This is intentional. This is not accidental. It's intentional. You have to intentionally wake up every day and decide, listen, this is how I'm feeling, and this is the energy that I'm going to embrace. Jamaican superstar Koffee, my children say, Mommy, when you say coffee, you really give away your New York. Koffee has affirmed that she is not a Rastafarian, explaining that she has switched from being a pescatarian, someone who adds seafoods to a vegetarian diet, to eating various types of meats, including pork. Now, again, the question is, what I would have to hear the interview, right? Because for her to say she's not, that means somebody asked you a question, like all of a sudden you just pop out of nowhere and say, "Man, no Rasta." Like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? Like, who was talking to you? So whoever write this article, sometime, in a recent interview, if I write article too, that's something I said, where did this come from? In a recent interview, in such and such and such, the reggae singer Koffee confirmed that da 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 da. Because where's this coming from? But anyway, so, but we just learned that she was Seventh-day Adventist growing up, as it's about to say in the next sentence. So let's read. During a Loop Barbados interview, thank you. I thought it should have been first, but ahead of a scheduled performance in Barbados, Koffee, who grew up in the Seventh-day Adventist church, was asked about her diet and lifestyle. And that's why that should have been first, because I'm like, why are you giving us the answer and you ain't tell us what happened? In response, the lockdown singer said that she eats whatever she likes. It's important to note that she grew up Seventh-day Adventist, because her diet wouldn't be coming from Rasta. Her diet would be coming from her Seventh-day Adventist upbringing. And so her first foot out the door, her first little foot out the door would have been, I'm adding seafood to the vegetarian diet to kind of test the waters. You know what I mean? Because what would have happened is, if you're coming from a place where there's certain strict guidelines, maybe you stick your foot out a little, well, maybe you stick your toe out. You know what I mean? And then you go full on out there. Now, I'm quite sure that if you read, some people would say the Bible doesn't say you only have to eat this. It gives you permission to eat meat, right? So then some people who are kind of maybe feel resentful or adventurous or whatever they may feel like, yo, I'm not sinning if I go ahead and eat this thing, but this is where it goes left, including pork. So now this is letting us know that not only is she bucking maybe the extremes of the Seventh-day Adventist to say you only can be vegetarian, but she's going beyond that and bucking the whole Bible in and of itself, because she's gone over to the pork, which is strictly forbidden. You understand? If she made a case for, and I'm just showing that the mentality of the person who's, breaking every chain, not the conquering lion. The conquering lion shall break every chain. No, she's breaking every chain, and it is not the conquering lion. Okay, but let's continue. So one time she says, I tried to be pescatarian. Remember, now you're not under your mother's guidance anymore. You're out there. Wait, hold on. I'm unplugging this thing. And however you felt, however the information was presented to you, however you felt about your restrictions, now is going to be the time where you're going to come into your own. I understand. So she's saying she tried, but now she eats everything. And that she actually had bacon this morning for breakfast. Bacon. Scrape off the bacon and give me the fowl. Now this morning she says, basically, again, so anytime people, and then we're going to read later, she reads her Bible every day. Brethren, anytime you get beyond, when you feel as if you've been too constricted, sometimes we may not understand somebody's behavior. If they're speaking to or even beyond us, because we wouldn't have known where they were necessarily coming from and why for them this would be something that you needed to declare, right? So now we can get it out of your mind that the person is a Rasta because they sung Rasta songs, or they sung with Rastas, or they have locks. We're going to talk about that whole, you don't have to dread for be Rasta in another time. But we can see that the order is kind of changing and the requirements are kind of changing to present oneself in this way, because we've gotten to a time where people are like, who are you to tell me anything? I can do what I want to do, right? There's no accountability. That's my thoughts. Again, this is me reading and sharing. So again, you can share your thoughts. I'll come to it in a second. It says, as you know them, say Rasta no fi eat pork. So she's again consciously aware. It's not only Rasta no fi eat pork. It's not only Rasta, but we're going to continue. She says, I am not a Rastafarian. No, she says, I basically eat whatever I like, or she does. What she feel like, she will eat. She's not like opposed to any type of meal. No, your physical appetite, right? Not always, but it shows a level of ability to govern and discipline oneself. So basically, she's saying to us, done with that. She do what she want to do. And no matter who like to no standard, cash and rasta. Okay, let's continue. Let us continue. Now, sometimes the downside of all of this is when you think you buck in the system and you don't realize that certain rules and regulations were put in place for your own benefit, and that you think that going against them is hurting anyone else, but it is really hurting yourself. But sometimes people don't find that out till later because they think they're hurting someone else by, you know, doing what they want to do, essentially. Many persons have been on the belief that Koffee is a Rastafarian. And they're going to say why? Due to, among other things, the fact she sports dreadlocks. Well, again, you don't have to dread for be Rasta, and you don't have to be Rasta if you have dread. Has been moving with the reggae revival Rastafarian artist and has made references to Jah in her songs. So, you know, that old proverb, show me your company, I'll tell you who you are, didn't hold true here because a lot of the Caribbean people are like, well, she in the company of Protege and Chronics and the man them. So that must mean, say she are one of them. But in this case, it didn't hold true. You know what I mean? It didn't hold true. It didn't hold true. But in a Reggae Revival interview in November 2017, after being asked if she embraces Rastafari due to her song Burning, carrying Rastafari references, Koffee had said, not really. Not really. Not really. She says she's not a Rasta. She remembers saying the word Jaja cover her journey, but Jah is also in the Bible. So she says she worships God, and Jah is another name for God. And because, yeah, and in this space, well, not the part about she worship God, I don't know what she do, but in the space of Jah is not solely a term, it was popularized again and commercialized by certain Rasta musicians, but correct. Jah is in this case short for Jehovah, or well, that's the pronunciation of Jehovah, if you're going to go with the J pronunciation for the sake of this conversation. She said the fire that she sings about basically means that drive, that passion, she explained. So I'm sensing a little confusion because she says she worships God, but then you kind of bucking it. So now we're getting into possibly some picking and some choosing of the direction that one wants to go in or what they feel most comfortable with. I know this is probably going to ruffle some feathers. Me don't know already. Me got to come and look at the comment section. Me know this is going to ruffle some feathers. But today, it have to go ruffle. It have to go ruffle. The song Burning, which was featured on her Rapture EP, had carried lines that spoke to her desire to be a Rastafarian and had made references to Jah, the name Rastafarians use when speaking of their almighty Emperor Haile Selassie, which is another confusion of the interchanging of Jah meaning Selassie. But again, it goes to interpretations of how people read the scriptures and then interpret recent times, right? And so let's continue down here. And then they give the line, mommy said doctor, granny said be preacher, one for be a Rasta, daddy be Nita. And again, I keep telling, when you're writing songs, not all of this stuff do people actually believe. They're looking for the rhyme of it all. Songwriting is literature. It is poetry. You're trying to either make your words rhyme or make your delivery rhyme. And so you can see Dr. Preacher, Rasta Nita, she was going for that type of rhyming scheme. It doesn't necessarily mean that the person was trying to be a Rasta. Koffee had also told Reggaeville that the song stemmed from a drawback and was a bid to inspire herself to press forward. Hold on, let me get a little sip yourself. It was really a disappointing experience. I had that caused her, not me, to write that song to tell herself to move forward. You have a lot within you. Everybody has that fire, and you should just try and find it and burn it as much as possible. Burn as in shine, so that the message to myself, she says, and hopefully a message to many other people. That was what she meant by fire. We're almost at the end of this, and then we have one more thing to look over. Earlier this year, which was last year, in a veiled statement, because there's been a lot of controversy going on. Again, your parents used to say, I don't know, me, I watch you, know. And I'm like, certain things. Yeah, let's continue. Earlier this year, in a veiled statement, Grammy Award winner Kabaka Pyramid took to Twitter to denounce the slack, quote unquote, reference to Valiant song titled Rasta, and lamented how the Rastafarian faith was being treated and mocked in Jamaica. I didn't see that song. Maybe we can look at it another time. But now they're bunning out. It's being mocked because what happened? The substance is no longer being respected. You can look one way and act another way, and it's perfectly acceptable, right? A lot of people have been muzzled. They have been quieted over the years, and that has kind of put a lid on what would otherwise be the ability to maintain order, quote unquote. However, he was criticized by some persons, move on one side, who accused him of failing to denounce Koffee, who, according to them, had done worse than Valiant. He was also rebuked for being silent about her collaboration with the Alphabet guy and some next lady who refers to himself as non-binary. In turn, Kabaka has asked for evidence to show Koffee claimed Rastafari. So again, these are technicalities. They over here like Amy's lawyer from yesterday trying to get it on a technicality. Bro, come on. Come on. And this is kind of why and how the people get hooked. You come out with certain tune that carries certain frequency, and then you flip it over them mid-sentence, and then it's like, whoa, 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 where did that come from? But the door is already open, so you decide, have you emotionally attached to this person, or do you realize, nah, I'm good, I'm going to have to detach and go about the business? Also, let me know if when did Koffee say she a Rasta, Kabaka had written. So because she omitted to say what she was and allowed the people to think what they wanted to think, one could have that little escape clause to say, well, the person didn't say that. So the fact that you concluded that, that's on you. Shiawa, when she said that, so again, that's totally sidestepping the issue that they brought up. One, does Rasta, even if you're not a Rasta, are you no longer Seventh-day Adventist? Even if you're not a Rasta, do you no longer worship God? Because the objection that Rasta would have, to the point they just had, so would Seventh-day Adventists, so would any other Christian, they would have the same objection. So if I was arguing this case, I wouldn't allow the client to just kind of jump out the pot, because Rasta is not the only one who would have an issue with interfacing or creating music with certain or sending certain type of messages. That wouldn't only just be Rasta. So let's continue. He had asked of one commenter who had asked him, you never have the same energy for Koffee where do sang with Sam Smith and she a Rasta. So again, instead of dealing the song with Sam Smith, they went with the Rasta part and then tried to argue that, which I think, because the person, I don't know how the person came back, but yeah, definitely. So that's to clear up any questions as to whether or not the person is a Rasta. The answer is no. So we're going to check out what you're saying in the comment section, and then we're going to come to the second part of this here conversation, which is, hold on one second. Let me put this in the box for anybody who desires to read it and their own time. At their own time. All right. Do-do-do-do. Ah, boy. Let me look at this. Now, the reference to the song, right? Let me just play that reference real quickly to the song that they were referencing and what it looked like. Hold on one second. Because it would give one pause, like, wait a minute. It's the same reason. I thought back to why Sadella told Bob she had concern with him entering into certain spaces. Remember when we read that? And Sadella's like, he's like, he gonna do music. And Sadella's like, I work out here, Bob. I don't know that you should, you know what I mean? Because I've seen some things. And Sadella was very concerned about her son's desire to do music. So this is, I'm not going to play the sound. So this is some of the imagery of the dancing, the imagery, the debauchery, the very interesting, and that's enough for me. That very interesting choice of. And even this gal looked like she icing up her body. It's an interesting choice of stuff that you are choosing to engage with at this juncture. Okay, at this juncture. So let me go ahead and see what's saying, what we're saying, and then we are going to continue. All right. There are a lot of entertainers that promote Rasta, but they act like they are also gangsters. Okay. Again, now let me just continue. Yes, there is some contradiction going on. Greetings to those who have just joined us. Right. There has been a deviation. Like I said before, what the elders were concerned about, they definitely had reason to be concerned because it is now the manifestation of that. Maybe those who came before weren't interested in the big car and the this and the that and all of this stuff. But those today are actually using the foundation that was set to achieve these things. Right. This is why Solomon, in his lamenting, when he's lamenting in Lamentations about, is it in Lamentations when he's like, you don't know that what you've built up, if a fool will come behind you and squander it. Hold on. Hold on. Yep, it's Lamentation. No, not Lamentation. Sorry. Ecclesiastes 2 and 18. Right? So in this book, a lot of people like to talk about Proverbs, which I love Proverbs, but Solomon he's the older person in this part of the text. That's kind of telling you what he thought versus versus what he got. You know what I mean? The reality of his life and what he's experiencing now, which I think is valuable to this conversation. I'm gonna keep going. Hold on. I wanted to I'll come back and talk about it, because basically he's like, vanity, vanity is all this vanity. You're doing all these things, hoping that the next generation will come and build on it. And in actuality, that you don't know who's going to get it. Is a wise person going to get it, or is the fool going to come and squander it? Right. So you could definitely check that out in Ecclesiastes chapter 2. Winter says that she doesn't judge someone based on how they dress. So when you go Dr. Winter, don't you expect the doctor to dress in a certain way? When you go to a courthouse, don't you expect the judge to dress in a certain way? This whole place is built on how we present, how we show up, and present ourselves based on our occupation, based on, this is how it's not foolproof, but clothes carry energy. This is another thing that we've stepped away from understanding, that clothes is spiritual. This is why now that we see that the makers of the clothes have deviated from a level of modesty, and the dresses are shorter and shorter, and the men's pants are tighter and tighter, and the clothes is looking less like honorable people, the people manifest themselves spiritually in the way in which they dress themselves. And some people be like, Amuna, what, look outside and tell me it's not so. I go out there every day and I'm like, what in the world is going on? So to a certain degree, our dress does have a reflection on who we are, or how we are, or how we think, because clothes carry energy. You know, clothes do carry energy. uh Fashion dreads, yeah. And uh this is where the conversation is going. Even, you know, fashion dreads, instant dreads, people that could, they can do what they want. You understand what I'm saying? But it shows that there is a disconnect between what it initially meant and what it's being used for now. And we could see that across the board with many things. When we disconnect the purpose from the source, we get a bit of confusion. Like, for instance, I talked about the African uh, YouTuber Wadamaya. He went to Jamaica and he went to go get some jerk, and the guy had locks, and the guy was like, "Yo, this a little bit of wickedest jerk pork." And Wadamaya from Ghana, he looked at him and he was like, "Jerk pork? I thought you was Rasta. Rasta don't eat pork," because that's the message. And so what it's causing is confusion, because now we don't know who is who and what is what, because everything is fashion or fashionable, and it's causing like this mix up and confusion in the minds of the people. Yes, some don't even smoke. It really depends. And I think this is, for me, it's not just about Rasta. It's about representing oneself as if this is what you can expect, but then when you go closer, it is not. You know what I mean? And people are going to be people, but I think that's kind of what a lot of the pushback, if you listen to some of the pushback in the greater community, it's like, wait a minute. You had everybody singing blessings fall on your right hand, and now you're in the club, you know, with a lot of debauchery sound fall all around. How is that? How is that? Yep. Okay. Cat is singing you don't have a dread for be Rasta, which, you know, well, yeah, for many they did, because of how it. I'm going to put it up on the screen because it seemed like I'm just responding. For many, it did cross their minds because of the way she first came on, because of the people who embraced her, because of the people who helped to put her in the spotlight for her to get to where she is. They assumed that she was either Rasta or Rasta adjacent or Rasta friendly. All right. Yeah, they were called out by the elders. And again, because the younger generation, there's a lack of respect and reverence for the elders, because now the younger generation gets to go upon the elders' shoulders and reach farther. So now the elders may be at home broke, nothing not going for them, and the younger generation, by acceptance of whatever they want to accept, are able to make it further and wider. Sometimes you feel like you not to listen to nobody, because you there they talk, but me out the road, me I do my thing. You know what I mean? Which causes a breakdown, which definitely causes a breakdown. And it does go beyond the diet is what determining the roster. Again, I didn't hear the whole conversation. We're just reading the clip. So that's what I read to you guys. Oh, maybe I missed something between Winter and Queenie are speaking. So maybe I missed something. When I open the mic, feel free to come up. You know, what is interesting is that we don't realize the power of music and how they are captivating the minds and attention of the youth, and then leading them into places that they themselves are stuck. So sometimes people think that this is a small matter, But when you have an impressionable generation of young men and women that don't necessarily have or listen to the guidance of elders, and then you have people who come out and present themselves as one thing and then normalize sin and iniquity and then lead the people into destruction, it may seem like a small thing, but in the grand scheme of things, it really isn't. It really isn't a small thing, because one is being used as a tool to lead people astray. This is not saying that this is a personal person who's there sitting minding their business. They're jumping up on a stage platform, asking the people to pay attention, and then implanting within the subconscious. The power of music is deep, into the subconsciousness of the mind through imagery and sound, things that are going to lead you very far away from a lot of these entertainers. They develop a whole lot of vices. Why? Because the very act of what it is that they're doing, the very way in which they've compromised themselves, they cause others to be compromised in this very way. So for us to pretend as though, I know big thing, man, a small thing, man. This is even for the youth, them that's you don't never know who's listening. And so this is for the children, the younger generations who are listening, so that they don't eat wholesale everything that's being served to them, right? Maybe they don't have the discernment as yet to determine, you know what, I like this song, but this is I draw the line right here. So yeah, I wanted to share that. Let's go ahead here. Yeah, and that's the question. Did she was young when she did it. This is Kaya speaking. She was young when she came out. Did she do it intentionally? I don't know. What was the impetus behind it? I don't know. Again, this is the article. It seems like we getting ruffled in the comment section. So I hope, let me go ahead and put this link in the box real quick. I hope we come and share it, because sometimes me reading the comment section after, I don't know what's being said. I don't want to misinterpret it. But again, this is for clarity, because just like the other day, I put the dude who pretended to be a doctor, the little boy, and he wasn't a doctor. He put on a doctor suit. He rented an office. He pretended to be a doctor. He lied to people. He stole people's money, and he took patients, and he wasn't a doctor. And it came out that, hey, this guy is not a doctor. And he presented himself as one. And nobody wasn't, like, you could pretend to be a doctor if you want to. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Let me continue here. Do we know for sure? I just read the article, Kaya. So I dropped the article in the box. According to the person in the article, she's the one who said this of herself. She said this of herself. So, I mean, hold on one second. Welcome to those who have just joined us. Again, Rasta is not the only. People are like, Rasta does not have the monopoly or the patent on dreadlocks. They do not. But that's not what this conversation is. If we throw red herrings in on the conversation, then we spend more time battling the things that are not being said as opposed to addressing the things that are being said. So, you know what I mean? I can't be running down all these red herrings here. Okay, please don't spam the chat. Please don't spam the chat. Again, this is what I'm saying. Winter, thank you for joining us. Well, I don't see. I think Winter came and then I see Winter left. See, again, as it relates to the conversation, when we employ certain things so we don't stick on the topic, then it loses the conversation. This is not about every single religious person. Every single religious person is not jumping on stage. Every single religious person is not trying to use a worldwide platform to put their message forward. Every single religious person is not asking people to buy into their doctrine and dogma or whatever it is, however they live their life. We're specifically talking about someone who's on a world stage representing something. It's very different, very different. So, let me go ahead and I see Jeremiah has welcome. Welcome to the conversation, Jeremiah.
How's it going, Amuna?
Medea, Medea, Medea.
Yeah, I just wanna say thanks for even attempting to broach this conversation, man, because I think for a lot of people it's not an easy conversation to have, but I appreciate the fact that you're taking the initiative to address it. Um,
Yeah, thank you,
yeah, I'd
thank
read some of my comments earlier, so you probably have somewhat of an idea on where my frame of mind is going with it. But I think the challenge that I see overall is I almost feel like we have to classify entertainers
you.
in their
Mm-hmm.
own category. And it's kind of hard for me to take any entertainer real seriously when it comes to like strong religious belief because it seemed to me like most entertainers are willing to compromise one way or another from what they claim to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because one, like, there's a lot of pressure just from being in that position.
True.
And two, like, what they have made available to them is very challenging to resist. And like I was saying, like, even a lot of people who, Coffee to me, like, I never really saw Coffee as like going out there and like really presenting herself as a Rasta. Like, I don't remember any point in time where she really did that. Now, what you were saying is true. Like, she did rub shoulders with certain people, but there's a lot of other artists that flirt with Rasta doctrine a lot more than Coffee. Like, you could take a person like Etana. Like, when Etana came out, like, she even had like Rastafari in her lyrics and was promoting like a lot of Rastafarian like ideology through her lyrics. But then, like, as time progressed, like, she just didn't really come across as somebody who really was committed to that stuff to me. Um, but it was more something that she was like promoting, but it was just kind of confusing as to like, is this something that you're really about? Because it just seems to be a diversion from that as time goes on. And other artists like Protege or Chronix, I mean, maybe Chronix is a little bit more on the line, but I mean, even Protege, like a lot of this, like when he's like shooting videos and like helicopters and Hummers and all that kind of stuff, to me, it just seems like there's so much worldly mentality in the music of like, yeah, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna get my success, I'm gonna get my own, I'm gonna make money and like flaunt it. And to me, it's like if you go back to the roots of like the Rastafarian movement, like when was that ever acceptable? Like to me, that just seems like so divergent. Like you were saying, and like people are building off of what other people put forward. Um, so
Yeah.
that's some of my thoughts.
Thank you so much. Yeah, agreed. And that's kind of why I brought up that Solomon scripture because, you don't know who's going to come behind you and do what. You understand what I'm saying? And even though that wasn't your intention, that's kind of where we are, right?
Yeah,
That's you took this road and now you're taking it to and in direct opposition to what those who bled, sweat, and cried and perished to build
yeah,
this road is in direct opposition to what they desired. That to me is wild. It's the reality, but it's also very wild to think about.
yeah. And I mean, I think part of the problem is though too is there's such a divergence within the Rastafarian community in terms of what people actually believe too. Because you have some Rastas that will like burn the Bible and say like, this isn't something that should even use. And other Rastas that are like, no, like this is totally what we're about. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it can be a bit confusing because there's such differing opinions and viewpoints, but yet at the same time, people are still claiming to be a part of the same movement and
Right.
still
Which
claiming to have like some level of like unity amongst them. And that's the hard thing to me is like, well, you can't just say that you have unity and not agree. Like it says in, was it Amos or Micah or whatever, how can two walk together unless they agree? You know, so
Yes.
to me, it just seems like there's a lot of, and I think you were saying too, it plays into the modern mentality of like, you know, people in this postmodern mindset of like, well, my truth is my truth, your truth is your truth.
Right.
Like, we're all just gonna like live according to the truth, but define it how we choose. And then in that sense, it's like, well, if you want to do it that way, like, you're not really in agreement with anybody unless you want to be. And then you're just kind of making up the rules as you go.
Right. There's no objectivity. This we're at versions now, like dub plate. You know what I mean? Everybody I ride on the same rhythm, but them I make it different song. You know what I mean? And it's just mere version out here, and you're like, wait a minute now.
Yeah,
You know, and it's causing. I think at the end of the day, it's causing confusion. And I know there are younger people on here, older people on here, and there's confusion, and it's difficult to wade through all of it because there's so much being said, but not really much being established. You understand me? I say,
yeah.
so
Well,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna add, like, I think you're making a good point in regards to coffee, though. If she's gonna say, well, I'm not this, then like really set the defining terms of what you are. You know what
Correct.
I mean? Like for you to say, well, I'm not a Rasta, but I still like to use the term Jah, which I mean, you could say that's another term for God, but I don't really hear other people besides Rastas using that term. So I mean, like when you do use that term, you are kind of associating yourself with something that people are accustomed to being associated with a certain group, right?
Yeah.
And I
We
mean,
call it
if
cultural appropriation.
sure, sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, and like having the locks and stuff like that, like yeah, if you want to have that, like there's no problem with that as long as you're being consistent with what you say you're representing and you're being clear as to what you represent. But then
Right.
to turn around and say you're still like representing God, but I mean, who is your God? And like, what standard does your
Right.
God?
Because you're introducing confusion otherwise.
Yeah, because like, and I mean, I don't know if you're gonna get into this, but I know that like there's a lot of talk of people, you know, talking about her in terms of her sexuality and like,
Yeah,
you know,
we have two articles left to go. I was just
okay,
opening the
so
mic.
I
Yeah,
won't
we're gonna
get
touch on that.
into that too much, but I mean like, if you're gonna say that you're representing God, but like you're also presenting something that you know, for if we're gonna stay in more of a biblical framework that God is opposed to, like.
That was my point. Like, huh?
Like I don't know, it just seems like people want to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that, Jeremiah. We have the chief in the building. We're gonna hear his thoughts, and then we're gonna continue reading some
Cool.
of the articles. So I look forward to your thoughts.
Yeah, man. Cool.
All right.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings, greetings. Welcome to the conversation.
Yes, this is my first time. I listened to your Bob Marley series. I really loved it, and you did such an outstanding job with that. And
Thank you. Thank you.
I feel like I had to say something for the first time. So,
Okay.
um,
Well, coffee dry out.
yes, yes, yes. I tell you this, though. Uh, this coffee lady, she's, we have to look at people in a way, that they're not. Being idolized, and you mean people, they represent one thing, and then at the end of the day there's something else. And like, even with the Bob Marley thing, like, I think that he was a good guy, and he represented what he wanted to represent, but he still had his vices at the end of the day, just like anybody else. And just like Moses, and David, they all had their issues in the Bible. And we're not supposed to idolize these people. These are
Mhm.
human beings at the end of the day. We're only supposed to idolize the creator God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Mm.
Period. And I think that people fail to realize, like, they get inspiration from these individuals, but at the same time, it's okay to get the inspiration, but do not idolize them. And that's where the error occurs. when we idolize these people. So I never looked at Coffee in the sense of like, when I first saw her video of Toast and everything, I said, I thought even then, I was like, she's not a Rasta by any means. She didn't have the look or anything like that, but I feel like, we as people have to
Sorry for the delay. Thank you so much for that. I was trying to get off of mute. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I agree. We shall not idolize people. Okay. Are you still there?
but don't look to her as inspiration. Our inspiration comes from the Creator, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So that's my little 2 cents, and I was being real chatty and funny in the comments about coffee, sexuality, and things. But I honestly, I don't care what she does because it doesn't have any part of my life. I don't operate that way. I believe in righteousness. I operate in righteousness and man and woman. But if you choose to do that, then God is not to judge you his own way. But you continue to live your life your way. This at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we treat people well and with love. And so that's why I want to say. I mean, you are so fabulous. You're wonderful. I just love what you're doing here on this platform. You brought out so much, and I respect you so much. Many perpetual blessings to you and your family. And you have such a bright future, and I'm gonna speak that into existence right this moment, because you are a queen and you're wonderful. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Give thanks, Chief. Give thanks. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and just engaging in the comment section. Give thanks for that. So for those who've just joined us, welcome to the conversation. We are halfway through. What are we talking about? I don't know. Winter, I saw you come on and then you hopped off. You could definitely come back if you want to share your thoughts. We're going to go to the second part now. I think I accidentally closed one of the too much wind out what me I saw. Okay, so now we're going to read another article that was written back in 2020, speaking about Koffee's mother, right? Joanne, her name is Joanne Williams, talks about her daughter accomplishments, God, and Grammy nominations. And this is kind of where, if she did not mention, you know, or like what I think it was Jeremiah who just said it. It's first of all, you're volunteering the information. That's number one. Second of all, you're misrepresenting the information, which is causing confusion. So let's read a little bit. The local music scene and social media quickly became a buzz last November after it was announced that reggae newcomer Koffee had been one of the nominees of the 62nd annual Grammy Awards. She created history by becoming the youngest solo act to be nominated in the Best Reggae Album category. Koffee-born Michaela Simpson was raised by her mother in Spanish Town and is the, quote, wash belly of 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. In an interview with the Sunday Gleaner, Koffee's mother, Joanne Williams, said the Grammy Award nomination is the high point of her daughter's career. Let me jump down here. No, it's not the part. Hold on. That's not the part. This is talking about the Grammy. Hold on. Okay, so it says whether checking the books for her superstar daughter, acting as an official chaperone for tours, or dancing side stage at the concerts, William, who is a psychiatric nursing aide with the Ministry of Health and Wellness by day, has made it her duty to show endless support for Koffee for the moment she decided she was going to take up music, though she will not be by her side in Los Angeles for the actual event due to her obligations. And that's interesting because according to Koffee, she was concerned that she wouldn't be accepted by, I don't know if it's the church or whomever, because she wanted to do secular, music, right? She noted, well, aside from being her manager and mother, she says that she still have to create legacy for herself by working still. However, her job is somewhat flexible. That is, let me see here. Here, she says, I'm still in awe looking on my daughters perform. It is surreal. Sometimes when I am at the shows with her, I observe her every movement and automatically my jaw drop. I even find that I talk to myself asking the question, who is that? And responding, oh yeah, I'm a be that. Williams said of her daughter who turns 20 next month that she said, no, wait, I have not had to remind Michaela who she is before Koffee about the values she was raised on. This is back in 2020. That she didn't have to, basically, she's saying her daughter already knew about the values she was raised on, but the mother and Christian in her is always expressing the importance of keeping close to God, to continuously honor and acknowledge Him. She expressed that Koffee walks with her Bible, and even while traveling, they never forget a moment to have devotions, to call upon God for guidance and sing praises. So I wonder when she just, the video where she did with the non-binary, she did bring a Bible in the video shoot, in that the shoot there? She says, I'm being facetious, people. I'm always concerned about Koffee and all my children's mental health, being exposed to various elements in the world, but not to the point where she's worried. Her children are strong people. Give thanks for that. And this was what, 4 years ago? And now 4 years later, we're seeing very different movements. The Koffee of 4 years ago manifested differently than what we are seeing today, or within the last 2 to 3 years. Yeah, that's the part I kind of wanted to read. No. The reggae singer's mother, too, had her share of spotlight, starting off in the 90s as a commercial actor, and she understands the challenges that come with entertainment business. Pride is something, she added, hindering individuals from sharing their issues with mental health. And we saw another artist come out the other day, whether she had a mental health breakdown and she needed to step away. The younger one who's in Protege's camp, Lila Ike, we saw something going on with her the other day. So this stuff is, we can take it for granted and pretend that we don't see what's going on, or as if we, the people, don't have the ability to discern and express, thoughts or concerns respectfully. But then when something happens, everybody's like, oh, me never know, so something did wrong, because we missed all the signs, right? She goes on to say, not just entertainers, it can be anybody, because it's something that affects a person irrespective of who you are. We need more education on the topic. I agree with that point, that latter point, 100%. Because right now we're reading about Marcus retrospectively. And even in retrospect, we could see that there was a lot of things going on. But to pretend that we're seeing what we're seeing, and something is not meshing, something is not adding up, something, even if it's like you clearly say this is who you are, okay, that's who you are, so you know how to relate. But if it's unclear, if it's ambiguous, then it opens up the dialogue for this type of discussion. So hopefully those 2 articles, let me put this one again. I think the other article that I said I was going to cover, I accidentally closed that article. Where the people are questioning her sexuality because of how she presents, again, because of the videos that she's choosing and the people that she's choosing to engage with. It is giving, I'm saying, but I'm not saying, right? Which makes it a topic of discussion because people are not like, they can see what they're seeing. And then you're like, no, man, I'm not that. Yeah, see, causes confusion. Let me see here. I'm going to put the link in the box one more time and then I'm going to wind down. Hopefully this was helpful. I said, you know what? I've been seeing this for some time. And again, the way the YouTube algorithm works, okay? You may have some songs that you may listen to, or you may have your children be like, oh, I like that song. And that same vulnerable child now gets influenced and introduced to another song of the same artist right? That maybe a few years later, that promotes something totally different. So I am very mindful with mine about imagery. I'm very mindful about what you're listening to, because this is how you slip ideas into the subconscious. For those who are big and grown and don't have anything to worry about, I feel you. But for those who need to be aware of what's happening, right? You may introduce your child to one song. Oh, this is a nice song. Blessings fall upon my right hand. And the next thing you know, YouTube feeds up some next debauchery from the same artist, and the child is confused. Do they yet have the ability to discern why this is not what you should be taking into your spirit? Okay. Let me go ahead down here. What is this now? I don't know. I don't know. Some of this stuff is not on topic. So for the sake of time, the link is in the box if you want to share some of those thoughts. Okay. Yeah, there are some people that are doing things for income and don't care about the after effects of them. And that's the sad reality, you know. Some people are just, hey, y'all held this and look, ain't nothing happened. So they're gonna do what they gotta do. It's not to say that they're not gonna pay, but along the way, how many souls are you endangering because of what you do? This is why even here on this platform, it is more economically expedient. This is why you see so many gossip channels or so many channels who don't go through the information. You just run with the information. Why? Because that's what the people like. So yeah, it may be economically quote unquote expedient to do that type of stuff, but in the long term, you do more harm than good. You understand what I'm saying? You do more harm than good by doing that kind of stuff. And so it's very short-sighted to just do things solely because, oh, okay, this is going to bring in money. How has it injured you, and how will it injure the other people who are partaking it? Of recent, I've been and then I'm going to wind down. I've been watching on the History Channel. I think I shared it. Yeah, they called the mother the coffee maker. I've been watching on the History Channel Foods That Built America. So if you have the History Channel, check out that series. It's very interesting. And what I'm able to see, that food is supposed to be nourishing, right? It is supposed to heal. Yeah. It is supposed to cause people to connect and socialize and build community. But when money became the sole motivating factor for these mass producers to make food, what did it do? It compromised the food. It compromised the health of the people who are consuming the food. It compromised their environment for years to come, so that 100 years later, after some of these mega companies and corporations took hold of making your bread, took hold of making your juice, took hold of producing your food, what happened? The people incrementally got sicker and bigger and more depressed, because the other elements that came with food production were not considered. In the same vein of music, it has a certain function, right? And if you solely use music as your dear diary, what you're doing is pushing out to the world your unprocessed pain, your things that you may not needed to process on your own. You're making and immortalizing it into song, and causing that energy to be recycled and relived in the earth. So when you live that experience one time, the people are reliving it over and over and over again. And it may not be an experience that they need to relive in that capacity. So the power of creation of art, period, is something that sometimes I don't really even think that people really pre, because if they did, they would consider, what if the things that you create in this life find you in the next? I see Kaya to the conversation. Welcome to the conversation, Kaya.
Bless up, Sister Imona. Big up the
Bless
chat
yourself.
room.
Welcome.
Yeah, really and truly, I I kind of say it's a little perplexing because Coffee never really strike me as a Rasta. From very early, I never saw her like that, and I
Mm,
don't. I think the problem in a Jamaica, sometimes I think the problem actually lies with us because and Caribbean people because as you see somebody with locks, we just call them a Rasta.
mm,
When most of them are a Rasta, we call them a Rasta. So and to be honest though, the Rastas themselves kind of need to be blamed as well too because there is no one unifying doctrine amongst Rasta.
true.
You know what I mean? So when they say, "Oh, that is not Rasta," well then, well, what really is Rasta? Because the Boba will have a one way of expressing it, and the 12 tribe is almost diametrically opposed to the Boba's doctrine. So can you really call them the same? You know, the Naya Bingi. I grew up somewhat in the Naya Bingi faith. And even still, as I grew older, I really have to find fault with the Naya Bingi themselves too, because they claim to them born Bible and they're not into the Jesus dread thing. But when you check, if you ever been to a Naya Bingi and you listen to their songs, about 70 to 80% of the songs are just remixes of hymns that we used to
Mm,
sing in church. I mean,
mm.
so I think the rest of them need to take responsibility and really get a concrete dogmas for themselves before they can really burn anybody else. You know what I mean?
Interesting. So you think the issue lies in the definition?
Um, amongst the Rastas themselves, insulated amongst the Rastas themselves, yes. And then also with just the greater general public, we just tend to just call everybody a blacks a Rasta. And as I said it in the chat, that the Rasta don't have a patent on locks because they weren't even the first to do it. Not even in Jamaica, they were not the first. I mean, so
But do you
I,
think,
I,
to a certain degree, then we have to look at who cemented this idea. It kind of boomerang then, because if you look at Bob, and if you even look at the Esther Anderson documentary, and according to her, this merging of reggae and Rasta and Lax was a creation to be able to package it and bring it to the world. So this connection, this identifying Rasta and Lax came from came from what they attempted to do. And now the people are like, oh, okay, Rasta locks. And then we're like, no, Rasta don't mean locks. When they spent all that time trying to get the two to mean to be synonymous. Can you understand what I'm saying?
yeah, I do, and it definitely Rasta is definitely taking over. I mean, okay, I have lots down to my knees, right? Like I said, I grew up in the Rasta faith, but me having done that, I can say that there's a lot of things that need to be ironed out amongst Rasta, which kind of led me away from it.
Right,
First, I don't deify anybody. You know what I
right.
mean? And even our brother, and not to find fault, but the God of Abraham and Meshach and Abednego and everybody. Who's to say that is the truth either? You know what I mean? I think, but anyway, I'll just keep it to the Rasta thing. I think really the Rasta then themselves need to iron out their dogmas. And because I wouldn't even call a Bobo and a 12 tribe, I wouldn't call the two of them the same thing. They're too diametrically opposed to be one thing. You know what I'm saying? Because one take Prince Charles Edward and say him basically is that them put him higher than Selassie and call him Emmanuel I am all
Hmm?
kind of things. And then you
Did
have
I
the
miss
12
something?
tribe.
Wait, that's another conversation. I think I missed something.
Well,
Huh?
you don't know what you don't know what the part there.
No, sir.
Nah, man, check all of them
No,
man will love wrap up there here like them are Arab. Sizzler and Capleton and all of them,
no,
the
sir. You
Bobo them.
missed me on that one day. What?
Yeah, man, just Google it, man. Bobo and Prince Emmanuel and Prince Charles Edwards. Yeah, man, it's a whole nother rabbit hole you go down in this.
No, sir. No, no, sir. Me can't. When me going in a rabbit hole, me stay down there too long. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I
man,
don't know. I've
you,
never
you,
heard.
you never you never hear a Bobo J that say, "Holy Emmanuel and
Yes,
Selassie."
I have heard that, but I didn't hear the Prince Charles part. That's the part that got me like, huh?
Yeah, he's a man the name Charles Edwards. He come from down a back wall there, and
Okay, okay,
them beat
okay.
him, and they claim say that he was murdered by Calvary Cemetery. So and say, oh, he's basically like Christ because they crucified him down at Calvary, and
Okay.
it's
Oh,
a whole bunch of things that I couldn't get into. Even when me
right.
in the Rasta thing, I couldn't get into them the bubble thing really. You know what I mean? And they I think they rose to prominence around say 98, 99 with the rise of Capital and Sizzla and Anthony B and a whole heap of youth and
I
start.
remember those days. I remember those days.
You know what I mean?
Uh,
But the actual dogmas, no, sir, we can't get into that.
well, maybe we'll have a
Mm.
conversation about that. Maybe we'll have a whole discussion about uh the different variations and why some people have come into and out of the understanding, and kind of like a where are they now. So that's definitely something we can discuss as we're unpacking Marcus, as we're unpacking Bob, as we did already. We'll continue to have this conversation because I think it is even integral to the understanding today of how people view the Caribbean. Whether we want to
Mm.
believe, like it or not, around the world,
Yeah,
this
it's
this
true.
thing is synonymous.
Yeah, Rasta really gives the Caribbean somewhat of an identity or
This is
something to
this is
kind
a
of
fact.
like, an
Yeah.
optical view, something to look at, when when they associate with the Caribbean.
This is a
But
fact.
yeah, but they need to start out them thing before them the oh you're perpetuating this thing. Well, I think a lot of Rastas are actually perpetuating or falsely perpetuating it inside
Okay.
of the movement itself. And I
Okay.
wouldn't even call them fake. I just think that they need to call themselves something else.
Hmm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Interesting. Interesting.
But
Thank
yeah,
you
man,
so
I love
much.
your program. Me
Thanks.
learn a lot, and
Yeah,
bless up
that's what I'm.
everybody.
I'm here for learning. Sometimes come and stir the pot. No, me stir the pot enough still, but I stir it with facts so that we could go and think and build and grow and do what it is we need to do as people.
Yeah,
So give
man, yeah,
thanks.
definitely. All right, take care.
All right then. All right, all right, all right. For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. We winding down right now. If you have anything to say, the link is in the box. We have just gone over the interview, of which I also put in the box. So if anybody out there is confused, know you have the answer. Koffee say, Shia no Rasta. Okay? And it kind of turned the old proverb on his head. Show me your friends and I tell you who you are. But then again, not. Maybe she allowed people to believe what they wanted to believe, and now she feels comfortable enough to kind of do what you want to do. I don't know if you guys saw that quick little video that I shared with, what was the name of that video? She was out with the guy and the other lady. A lot of questionable presentations are going on that if you have young ones, you need to be mindful of. I'm always thinking about the young ones, right? And the young ones may not always have the ability to discern what is before them. So you have to be mindful of what you allow to come into their consciousness. So with that said, greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome. So I don't see anybody else is clicking the link at this point. I'm gonna give you a little bit more to click the link, and then I'm going to boogie. What time now? 6 o'clock. We'll do Marcus tomorrow. We get a little reprieve today. Yes, that guy there. That guy there. Slackness. Okay? Slackness. Yeah. You have to be careful with them something there, man. Because that stuff get down in the spirit. Stuff get down in the spirit. All right. We see. Welcome to the conversation, Amsa.
Hey, greetings, greetings. Yeah, I just
Greeting.
decided to jump in real quickly. I really appreciate this platform once again. And just to add on a bit, what everyone else has said so far, just regarding this whole like discourse among the Rasta and who is who and who is not who, is very much enlightening. And it's I just posted something in the chat because I have been delving into a bit of Ethiopia, and something that always I found curious was like, we have to talk about Rasta men. We have to talk about Black men and their acquisition of women who are non-black, especially the Rasta
Oops.
ones.
Oh gosh. Hey.
We got to touch on that just a little bit. I haven't heard anyone really weigh in on that.
Hey.
We have to. And, just a quick story. I remember when I was like 12 years old on the bus, and I saw a Rasta man with a white girl on the bus in East Flatbush. And I was like,
Hmm.
what? Why are you with a white girl? And of course, so innocently, I was like, you're a Rasta. Like, I
Right, right.
couldn't conceptualize it. I'm like, we don't really, I didn't grow up Rasta. I grew up Jamaican, but growing up Jamaican in a Christianized home is not entirely different from growing up with that understanding of God first and strong cultural Jamaican roots. There's a thin line between the two. And
Right, right.
so I just found it a little bit weird, especially as a Jamaican person. I find that we're a very prideful people and we have a very strong African centeredness in terms of our consciousness, even if we're not Rasta. So seeing that, I was like, wow, that's interesting. And fast forward to today, and just really understanding the history of Ethiopia. You have the Oromos, you have the Habishas. The Habishas are more so like what we would consider the biracial. They're mixed with the Arabic, and some
Yeah.
may have the Italian blood influence. But the Oromos are African, and they look black, and they look like sub-Saharan people as well. They like to make the distinction that Ethiopians don't look like, you know, the Africans from Central, West, and South, but Oromos do. They look Kenyan, they look Sudanese,
Yeah.
they look Ugandan, they look like
It's true.
us. They look Nigerian, they all look the same. Of course, there's slight differences in physiology here and there, but nothing too straying from what is, the norm. They have round noses, they have chinky eyes. Ethiopians, the ancient ones, the original indigenous ones. So just quickly coming back to the Rastas, like there seems to be this deep appreciation for a Habisha aesthetic. And I think that's a part of like that lack of clarity in the Rasta community, because Rasta is really about appreciating your blackness. Like unapologetic love for your African identity, not the one that has some type of non-African, non-Eastern influence. True African original identity. And so that's something that we should also reflect on. We got to call it out. We love the Rasta, but they too practice what we like to call colorism. So
Uh-oh.
that's my little thing. I have to share that.
All right, we gonna definitely we gonna have to come back to why no stuff to cover, man. We gonna we gonna talk about that. As you spoke about I realized that the like you're saying, the Ethiopian that you see the most is the one that is mixed with Arab.
Yeah.
And I remember going further down when I was living in Shashamani is the first time I'm actually seeing the other version, for lack of a better word, of what Ethiopians look like, right? It was like, wow, okay, but you don't usually see them highlighted, when speaking about Ethiopia on TV. There's a lot of tribalism in Ethiopia, so that's interesting to look at that and explore that as well.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Muna. It's been a pleasure. Have
Thank you for coming on.
all right, peace.
All right, everybody. Thank everybody for tuning in. This was just a quick little update. It's been on my mind. It popped up on my feed, and I'm like, bro, we ain't gonna pretend like we ain't seeing what we're seeing. We seeing what we seeing. You know what I mean? So, anywho, with that said, okay, what's going on here? Rasta in the city says him disagree with the caller. Rasta in the city, you want to click the link? Although the Rastas don't practice hate, if a Rasta choose to date a non-black, that's their personal choice, not a Rasta movement. I think Amsa has a point in that, much like we saw the prophet of Pan-Africanism in Marcus still have an inclination towards his Spanish Irish heiress, underneath the desire to return back to self, there are still remnants of certain standards of beauty that we can't deny, right? So, and we see it represented in what people lean towards as beautiful, right? And you see it differently. I watch a lot of Nollywood, looking at African culture, who may have been colonized but not fully taken over in the way that those in the diaspora have been taken over. And even though some of uh, the thoughts of European standards of beauty are seeping in some places there's still like, this is beautiful because this is who we are. But more so in the West, the standard of beauty, even for the melanated woman, is oftentimes the proximity to how they look and represent the dominant culture. I mean, I think it is a conversation. I think it's more than just personal choice. Personal choice is oftentimes informed by community, it's informed by society, it's informed by what the people think is beautiful. Yeah, Ethiopians, because yeah, Kat says that she was in Ethiopia. Ethiopians don't really care about Rasta. Not right. Rasta makes Ethiopia, looks at Ethiopia a certain way, but Ethiopia has its own set of issues that they deal with, within the country. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting, like you say, when you're on one side and you look at it, you think one thing, but when you get on the other side and you're there, you're like, okay, okay. What? Did I miss something? What in the world? Okay. Tate, I see you in the chat, but it says your device is not connected. Try going out and coming back in again. What? What in the world? And then again, like, at this point, because it's like the gift that has been given to the world, how the world interprets it, it's kind of like outside of the hand of those who represent Rasta at this point, because it's the gift that's given to the world and it's gone all over. You know what I mean? So yeah, Kevin, I agree. I actually have up, and I was going to do it today, but I decided to do this. I actually have up what was brought up yesterday, which is, well, actually, it's Marcus's view on Haile Selassie. But Kevin is saying Rasta's view on Haile Selassie and Ethiopia's view on Haile Selassie, can be as different as night and day. And it is as different as night and day. It is as different as night and day. And that's just curious. That's the part of learning and growing, that the more information you are able to know and try to objectively process, is the more grounded you become, right? And even if it may cause you to have to shift from what you previously thought, but this is where we get the rigidity from and the dogmaticness of it all, because we kind of like build it on this sand, and if anything comes, the wave comes, some breeze come, then all of a sudden we don't know what to do, because we weren't open to the possibility of shifting or learning something that we didn't prior know. You know what I mean? So I see Tate, and then I'm going to go ahead and wind down. Welcome to the conversation, Tate. I don't see Tate coming to the mic. Let me run this commercial real quick, and then we'll come back to Tate. I'll give everybody opportunity to come in, like the video, share the video, subscribe, do all that lovely stuff. And then let me run this commercial real quick. Listener, all of this jokes and reading got me feeling a little hungry. Do you guys come with your snacks ready, or do you think it's time for an ital food break? The Rasta and him Empress say, yeah, ital food break. So listener, this is Imuna, and not only do I read and write novels, I also do a little something something, well, a kind of big something in the kitchen, right? So I wrote this amazing Hey Pumpkin cookbook. Inside, pumpkin seed milk, carrot punch smoothie, listener, even jerk tofu strips. But the tofu is made from pumpkin seeds. So join me on a culinary adventure with the pumpkin seed as we explore the benefits of this green superfood. You already know potassium, zinc, it is loaded and highly beneficial. Again, a high source of iron, zinc, magnesium, vitamin E, and it helps boost the immune system. This book, as well as Island Twist, is available on Amazon today. So go on over and let's get back to the story. All right, all right, all right. Welcome to those who just joined us back. I actually have a little recipe that I did from the book. I just got to cut the video and share it with you guys. So if you got the book, let me know. Take pictures, share it in the comment section. Let us know how it's working for you. Sometimes we don't get enough of the essentials in our diet, or sometimes we grow tired of the simple ways that we are incorporating it. And so this book helps to incorporate it in very fun ways. Something as simple as blending the pumpkin seeds, water, strain some dates and milk, you say. Pumpkin seed milk are good something that. But anywho, we have Tate who have just joined us. Tate, welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Mona, once again. Thank you for
Welcome.
having me. Just to go back, I agreed with the caller that came before. Because I've seen so many, because I've been with you on this journey and I'm learning more about Rastafari.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think that the movement is all about like embracing your blackness and disregarding like Western ideology and what it means to be black, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of like I'm not familiar with Koffee, the Rasta, the reggae singer,
Singer. Okay.
but I would also think I've seen a lot of people, different people, have their own interpretations of what it means to be Rasta, but it all kind of blends in with the idea of like being like maybe not fitting in with like Western or like mainstream cultural and societal practices. It's kind of like, you know.
Right.
But I agree with the caller that came before that was talking about like colorism and all that, because I would think that like at the core of Rastafari is embracing blackness and Africanness, but you don't really see that a lot. But I know it's a controversial topic because um as black people we do like to deny colorism and stuff.
Mm-mm.
Like I told you I was reading the book. There's so much things to say, and I was so shocked that like I won't spoil any part, but like I was shocked that like Bunny, Bob, and Peter used to call Rita like a black ugly girl and a monkey.
Yeah,
I was
yeah. We
like
heard that one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was like, aren't you guys singing "Get Up, Stand Up" and like you're all against the system? And I'm
Right.
like, I don't know, but I guess it also shows that like like you really have to how do I say this? Even if you do certain beliefs and practices, you really have to like do like an internalized self reflection in how you I don't know how to explain
No,
like
no.
how
Well,
you
you're on the right path. You're on the
you,
right path. Mm-hmm.
and like it's like you can't just be part of like a cultural movement, even like you have to practice what you preach is what I'm trying to say, and
Right.
make sure you live it, like, and how you treat people in your like immediate inner circle and stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Thank
but
you
there's
so much. Mm-hmm.
yeah, sorry, there was someone in the comment section who was like was talking about colorism, and it's like the only people who complain are women who are not attractive and all this, and I think that's like a gaslighting tool used
I missed that
Like,
one. I
yeah, that's
can't
why
follow
I even
everything in the
came in the
conversation.
show.
That's why I put the link because I can't follow it. I be missing stuff. But merciful Father, wanna help me. Um,
Yeah, I felt like the lady that came before, I think whoever wrote that comment was trying to gaslight her. So I just wanted to come up and say that's not true. I mean, you
okay.
see the most beautiful woman face colors, and so, yeah,
Thank you so much for that.
okay, no problem. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So with that, I must have missed out. Sometimes I'll be missing stuff. I'm talking and doing a lot of stuff, but I would just say, as Tate just shared, there is, and these are in my words from what I heard, there is a level of dichotomy. We're seeing it in the Marcus story. We saw it in the Bob story. We saw it all over. And that comes from, in my estimation, the experience, right? And the experience is a traumatic one. And there's some things that still stay with the people on a, not just on a subconscious level, right? And there's some things that consciously you see and know and you want to change, but subconsciously there is an opposition. There's something that's opposing it. That's the thing that's ingrained. That's the thing that the individual, not people that we hear from the outside can change it. The thing that is the subconscious virus, so to say, that is within us has to be dealt with by the individual. We can hear people say it, we can get pumped up, like I said yesterday, we can get all excited, but that thing when we're in the stillness and the quietness, and that's that voice that we hear, whether it be good or bad, is really determining whether all our efforts and energies are being canceled out or whether we're being successful. And up until this present time, collectively, it seems as though all of the energy that we put towards one direction is canceled out by another direction. So for instance, you may have people who were born and grow in the church, right? And the thought is that they're and I'm going to wind down on this one, that they're leading their family to the right direction. But the canceling of that is how the person really is, where the family members see how the person really behaves, what they really say, how they really, think. And so now you have this dichotomous thought, this split thought, where one is, yes, I'm a holy roller and I'm doing all these things, and the next one is, you're selfish, you're a backbiter, you're all these things. And the person who's looking at it is using, even if it's a young child, is using this experience to determine what direction they're going to go in, and then justifying their choice by saying, well, look at this person. They went to church every day and they stole Mas John's apples when he wasn't looking. Them steal Mas John Akifani tree. And this is what we don't realize, that we cause one another to stumble when we're professing one thing but then manifesting something else. So that's kind of my thoughts on that, and it is very deep, and it's not something we can go all the way down in there today. So maybe we'll come back and talk about love. I see some love conversation in the comment section, so maybe we can look into that. Winter, where you went? How come, Winter, you clicked the link and then you left? Cynthia says she's going back to the beginning. Yeah, we at the end of this conversation here. Oh, really? Kat says there was once a discussion if white people should wear dreads in Germany. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. So with that said, let me just go ahead and end this live. I've presented what I wanted to share, gave the information. Hopefully, it helps someone somewhere. Do your own research. And as always, give thanks. And I hope everybody have, y'all in the middle of discussion. I don't want to just cut y'all off. Y'all making me feel like, oh, Moon always a cut the chat. Y'all over here having whole discussion. Listener. Wait, Winter, come back. Winter says she don't want the discussion for done. Winter, welcome to the conversation.
Hi.
What Winter Wagwan? Yeah.
Me nah
You
lie.
know, the chat has stir it up more than me, man.
You know, when I come in our place, everything mash up.
Winter come say pot a burn moon. Come let me stir this up for you. What's going on?
All right. So which part what did I call the first time again? Because we were talking about the clothes, how people dress.
Mm-hmm.
And remember me say I'm gonna judge people.
Right.
No, we were talking about, yes, mentioned the dreadlocks, and I was saying that I never thought about whether she was Rasta or not, because I really judge people by how them dress and stuff like that. And I really don't. I mean, and the reason why, because me personally, me not cover up myself, but in a means to me slutty. Me, you understand where I come from?
Mm-hmm.
I know enough people like me, them maybe not dress a certain type of way. Me cover up sometimes I wrap up my head. I dress according to my mood. I'm not a religious person, and I not follow crowd. I just do whatever make me feel free. At the end of the day, I believe everybody's supposed to be happy. I think we judge people too much, as a nation, especially everything, like you said. The girl never ever said she a Rasta, but then people just did that assumption just because she have locks on her head and because she sings some positive song. Them just right away jump up and say,
So
oh,
do you think
them
they were
shocked
wrong
she
in
a
that
Rasta.
assertion, given that all of the indicators
It's
point
not a matter.
towards some consciousness?
Okay, so it's not a matter of wrong or right to me, in my opinion, on that. Simply because, like I said, not because a person, you can't judge a book by its cover. We always hear that thought, and it's so true. It no means that because she speak consciousness, it no means that she come from a place of Rastafarian belief. A whole heap of people, we are not Rasta. You are Christian. I don't know if you're Christian. I'm sorry, I
You
misspoke.
see that?
You're not,
You
yeah.
just judge me.
Yeah. Me just contradict myself.
You
In a
just
sense,
judge
I hear
me.
you talk a lot about the Bible. I've heard it now because I hear you talk a lot about the Bible and stuff. But
Uh-huh.
because there's so many groups now, it's unfair for me to use the word Christianity. So, okay, for instance, you talk a lot of conscious things, but you're not right. Wouldn't say you're Rasta. I never hear you say you're Rasta before.
Okay, I
You
get
understand where I come from? So a lot of people would have seen it because, again, like I said, how we judge people. So you see a video come up and you have your head wrap up. You might have, even you look at emoji, something like that, your cartoon, something on your
right.
thing. You have the red, green, and gold banner and all of that. And, locks are come out. Say you practice Rastafarianism.
That's
You
true.
understand where I come from? Because obviously, that's the color with flag. But a lot of people see that, and straight away, even if you wear a piece of clothing or a what them call it, Jaja belt, straight away them think you're Rasta. You just embrace your colors. So we
True.
judge people and then we make assumption, and then it leads to things like this where people are shocked. You understand? Me just wait for people to say what them is before me jump on whatever. Like
I
I
mean,
don't care.
the same could be said on the other side. Like
Mm-hmm.
a few months ago, Queen
Mm-hmm.
Africa came out in some questionables and doing some questionable movement, right? And
Mm-hmm.
she did come and say, she always presented herself to be Rasta, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they did
Yeah.
the same thing, them bun her out.
Here's the thing now. Queen Africa does sing a lot of
Right,
it's not just a not necessarily conscious song. She sing conscious song, but I think she mentioned a lot of Rasta thing in her song
right.
then. But then again, what we need to understand as well is that people change.
That's true too.
I used to be into spirituality. I wasn't always like agnostic, atheist, or whatever people want to label me or whatever, because I don't believe in God of the Bible or anything like that. I've tried Buddhism, I've tried Hinduism. I'm a searcher. Like how you love to research things. I don't take anything and just lie down with it. I like to research and I like to try other things, because I'm growing, and that's how we grow. You understand? Say 1 minute me I tell everybody, say, you know what, it's same thing like what you just talk about, like, the subconscious mind and all of these things. I was one of those people where I try to convince everybody, say, this is how it is, until I started it. For me, it started, where the word I look for, it started to come apart for me personally. And I mean, say it's going to come apart for you or whatever. You understand? So it's not a matter of, I lose myself when I chat too much.
It's all right. Take your time.
What may I say again, Emuna?
You said just because I was talking about Queen Africa and
Africa,
yeah,
yeah. So
and the
she can
twerking.
change. Maybe she started off the way that that's how she felt, and as time changed, she's going through changes, because sometimes we go through changes, and sometimes people end up back into spirituality. At the moment, even today, I listen to the Somalian lady. What's her name? Aman.
She's a singer.
Ayan, no, Ayan, no, is it, what's her name? Ayan? No, she used to be an atheist. First of all, she was a Muslim. The one that came, she went, I think she's an American citizen now, that went through the whole heap of things within her faith. There's loads of video on her, because she had a discussion with Richard Dawkins, which is an atheist, and he used to be her mentor. And now she's gone back into the faith. Like, she's gone not back into Muslim, she's now converted into a Christian. You understand? And it's
So
like
we're
what I'm
gonna
saying.
look like we're
People,
gonna have to have that conversation, because I think it's important. Akaya brought it up as well, about people growing to understand one thing and navigating their way out and then navigating their way in. So I definitely think it's a conversation to be had. We're
yeah,
seeing it
people,
with Coffee growing in one
yeah,
way, and then now she's in a place where it appears that she's either bucking people or bucking what
yeah.
she's
But
been
and that
taught.
this and that is the thing when me even click on a video clip, because and when I listen, this is a very, very interesting thing, because when it comes to, because the topic is about coffee, so I could keep it at coffee.
Yeah.
For me, what I can say with coffee, and I think what I'm saying, this part here, I think is the same thing with Bob Marley. Like, obviously them have a talent. It's the two people, especially coffee, they have a talent. Maybe the people then what could I give her a break are those kind of people, like the Rasta people. It's she's very good at it, like for sound conscious, the conscious music and stuff where she write and stuff like that, or where she get for singing and stuff. She's very good at portraying it. So it bursts her, but you could have tell from day one said the girl masculine. I mean, if anybody never says she masculine, something did wrong. I mean, you understand where I come
I
from?
think she
So
kind of got a little bly because she was younger and you didn't
yeah,
really want to.
maybe.
Yeah, because she was, remember, she's 16, 17 years old. You don't want to
Yeah,
just
when she
come out and
first
be
come
like,
out,
yeah,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So as she's growing now, you're like, wait, oh, have I studied,
Yeah,
brethren? Oh, are most of them
yeah,
so big, and where
yeah.
she
You
are
could have
growing
tell.
at
So
that?
she tomboy, very tomboyish and
No,
stuff
that
like that.
gun, that, yeah, she all the
Yeah,
way, she all the way
yeah,
over there, so.
yeah. You understand?
So
But
which again, my concern from bringing it up is not
yeah,
even so much so the older people, it's the being conscious of how younger people are introduced to things that may be her journey or her experience, but what she might the dangers of what is being done, it is on a public platform, and it is introducing it to the minds of the young people.
okay.
And
So
that's kind of where my sticking
and
point is.
I respect your point, but I'm gonna always, I'm a very controversial person. It's how I view life. I can't view it no other way. So I see things a different way. So where you see that might be negative, I actually don't see it as a negative, because then you also have little girls or whatever, or little boys that have these feelings and they suppress them because they don't feel comfortable, and that's more dangerous than a child or a person expressing who they really are.
When you say who they really are, feeling and a fact. I know we're going left, but
No.
feelings are not fact, because we these the prevalence of these
Mhm,
feelings in present
mhm,
day are not
mhm.
happenstance. These
Mm,
thoughts are being seeded in the minds of the people.
no,
So
I don't.
sometimes when
That's the
you're
thing,
thinking it's your feelings,
and
it's
that's the
something
thing.
that's coming from elsewhere.
No, I don't necessarily
All
believe
right,
that. I don't.
I have a video I
Mhm,
shared where some
mhm,
children, not even more than
mhm,
6 year old, are
mhm.
singing an R&B song they could have never known about because it come out a long time.
Mhm.
And the way these children are singing this song, with the emotion that the children are singing these songs, you have to say,
Because
where
yes,
are you getting this from?
because them copy them
I
what
have my
a lot of
point.
different
But
things.
that's my
Yeah, but
point.
listen, but that's a different thing though, Imona. Like when we are talking about say Coffee and her sexuality or whatever, if she's even that way, her masculinity, and you said because she's on a platform. But what I'm saying to you, you have children. I used to have a friend, right? over here at England, right? Jamaican girl. And she have this son. She have a little boy. Let me tell you something. The little boy I didn't born to her a long time now, I see them. He was about maybe 5 years old. And let me tell you something. That little boy was not a little boy. That was a little girl. I'll be a dolly him want to play with. His mom, she was so embarrassed, like, of him. She, you know, when she never have no choice, and she go pick him up from school, and like people stop her. The little boy stand up with him hand cock up. He never get it from, and I learn it. And Muna, it was in him. She tried everything to get him not to be like that. But that's how he is. And we have to be, obviously I have 2 girls, I have 2 daughters, them not stay like that. But then I have to look at the fact that what about the other children that like her son, that is actually like that? It's not a learned behavior.
We might have to have that. They can be, but we don't know if
we can have this a different time
with that one day.
You can go on. Yeah, you can. This can.
We don't know if YouTube go with that one.
Then I'll cut you off.
Listen, no,
yeah, we can have it one next time. But you know, like, and not everything like we can use and make a determination and say that's what the next thing mean as well. I understand what you said, but I think I see the video. I think I know the video with the little girl with her cream ear where in the video. I remember the song
these children, a lot of
and them up on the dance floor, and the way she hold the little one, she hold up on her heart, and she starts singing that things that she in love.
You not think that somebody broke their heart. That's what I'm saying about learned behavior.
I know, I see the video, I see it
and what we are
on
seeing
Instagram.
in the environment.
Yeah, but that's a different thing. I think that's a whole different thing from the topic of sexuality. That's a whole nother topic. Maybe one day it would be nice if you go through that and stuff like that.
That's another topic that definitely has to be addressed. This is something that can be, again, we have to address that next day. So definitely give thanks for coming through.
All right, then.
All right.
Take care. Yeah.
All right, blessings. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and wind down and finish up the people them dinner. Because you got to get it in. You know what I mean? So I'm about to go finish up some food and thing. And I pray everybody has a blessed day. And share your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, then. 1.